All right, great. Welcome to Instagram Business. We are going to get down to business about Instagram and the many changes that they have made in actually introducing business sites. So before it was just a personal site and you could put your business on it, but now they've decided that they want to cater to the business world, organizations that are already on it and using it and doing well on it. They want to see what other things that they can provide to us on the business side of things to make it easier to engage with our audience and easier for us to use it as well. So we're going to talk about that conversion today. We're also going to talk about all the new features, whether they came before the conversion, during the conversion, or maybe as they popped up after that conversion happened to the business pages. And then I want to give you some tips. There's still a lot of the unknown with Instagram. It's still a new social media out there, but we're seeing a lot more people using it. And so I want to give you some tips that you may or may not have known about that will help you kind of tackle this social media head on. And then, of course, strategy, because I feel like it is an important piece of our puzzle when we go into marketing strategy, and that we need to be starting to integrate that in there. So that's what we're going to cover today. And this is going to start from the beginning here. And what our current pages look like, this is actually my personal page. You can see there is a room for description. I should probably add something there. But you can see there's not a lot there for a business. It's very much for a person, for personal use. So we can see that there was a definite need for a business page when it comes to Instagram, because there's a lot to be desired of just a current page, even though people were using it and being successful. So now you have the option to opt into a business page. Right now, as far as I know, they're not forcing people to do so. I think if you start a new page, they will ask you if you're a business and give you that option, but they're not forcing you to do the business page. What's really nice about this conversion is there's no chance of losing anything. When somebody contacted me about this training and said, I'm just a little nervous about changing over to a business page, I don't want to lose the pictures, the momentum, the connections we have. And I said, you don't have to worry about that, because when the conversion does happen to a new page, which the next slide I'm going to show you how to convert, if you have the page that looks more onto your left than your right, you're not going to lose any of that. It's actually going to just make your page stronger. So you can see the distinct differences there. The one thing in the top right-hand corner that you'll see is that little function that looks like a graph, and that's where your insights are. So now on Instagram, just like Facebook, we can see actually who's looking at our photos, who's engaging, what do people actually look like, their gender, their age, those kinds of things. And so that can make us as marketers have more information to be able to really target market on this social media platform. You can also see, in addition to the website, and I probably, again, should have added a website to my personal page, because you can have a website there, but you can have a website plus you can have a contact form. And I'll show you a screenshot a little bit later about what that looks like when you hit the contact form. But you can actually, when you hit that, it would go to get directions, it would go to call me, it would go to your website. And so you have a lot of different ways to kind of have that call to action that's right there. Of course, you see the edit profile because I did it from my own personal page, and I have that insight as well as the insights. We're only seeing that as an admin, just to let you know there. Then, of course, you have the description, but they have now classified us, and I was able to have a classification of a small business. So we're able to identify ourselves in another realm, which does help with that engagement. And as Instagram changes and they tell us who we're going to see from, that kind of thing will make us stand out as a business, beside another organization. And then, of course, you can have the website, which you've always been able to have, and I've always recommended with the website, it's something I'm going to mention, the quick tip, is to change out that website. So now we kind of have a place where our website is always going to be. That's under the contact tab. So we can use this link as something else. So in this instance, this was the link to actually register for this webinar. So you're able to put another link out there. And then location-wise, they ask you if you want to show your location, then you can put that information in there too. So that kind of helps, because a lot of times, if you're like me, people or businesses will follow me, and I'm always curious where they are. And so if they happen to say they're somewhere in West Virginia, I'm probably more likely to engage with them than if they're across United States, but you never know. So the big question is, how do you convert over if you already have a Instagram, just a regular Instagram page? And so the easiest thing to do is go to settings and switch. So you can see this up at the top, right beside their insights, is the settings. And you have to scroll down a little bit, but you will see switch to a business profile. And again, do not be worried about losing anything. You should not. I've never heard of anybody. I converted several pages and never had any issues of losing any followers, losing your photos, anything like that. Everything in that stays the same. So, you might be able to do it while you're on your phone right now, or you can try it later, as this is going to be recorded and you can watch these directions again, but it's pretty step-by-step once you go to switch your business profile. They're going to ask you a few more questions just to fill in those blanks, and then you're going to be up and running pretty easily. And then it would just be like when you switch already, probably between your business page and your personal page, up there by the name of your page with the drop-down, you'll be able to switch to your business page. So something else that you may have seen that's a little different as we did the conversion to the business page, kind of happening at the same time, is Instagram Stories. And this is actually something that has come about in our personal Instagram pages, but also in our business pages. We're able to do the Instagram Stories. So at the top of your main page, you'll be able to see, actually the top of your newsfeed page, where you would see other people's photos. You're going to see what looks like on the left-hand side, which you'll see your story first if you have one, and then everybody's story, kind of in that the most recent first. So you might have to scroll through, and you're able to scroll through and see many more. That's just what my phone shows. And I do apologize for the screenshots, but a lot of this you can only use on the mobile device, and so we can't just pull up the Instagram PC platform and be able to see all this. So you can see in the top left-hand corner there beside Instagram a little plus sign, and that is where you actually would start your story. And so just to kind of explain what stories are, if you're familiar with Snapchat at all, it probably looks very familiar to how you engage on Snapchat. If you're not, this is more of a live photo streaming, you can do video streaming, and it's more of even more instant than what Instagram wants to be, and really does align with kind of their mission of having that instant out there. One thing that they did change just in the last maybe 48 hours or so, if you follow me on Facebook, you saw this, or on the Facebook event, is that there is an option to pull photos in your photo stream from 24 hours, because these stories just last 24 hours. But it is a good way, and why Instagram decided was because you have more of an audience on Instagram. And on Snapchat, not to get on another tangent on another social media, but it starts with just your connection. So you really start with your inner circle. So only people that have your phone number that are on Snapchat you can really connect to. And then you can start broadening that by finding people's Snapchat usernames and connecting with them. So Instagram, I think, saw this opportunity to have these stories that are more live, behind the scenes, kind of a way to feel like this is a personal connection, that people will engage this way, and then, of course, they will follow you and see the rest of your story with Instagram. And so you can see on the right-hand side there, that's just a screenshot of one I did last week at the Belpre Chamber Luncheon, and I was able to take that photo, and then I'm able to either type in something, which is what I did, or draw something, or write with my finger, which I'm not very good at, so I tend to just type. But I'm able to do those kinds of things. There's a few filter options in the next slide I'm going to show you. So if you are familiar with Snapchat and some of the filters, it's not quite as good as Snapchat is with the filters and the bee filter and the flower thing on your head filter, but it does have some of those options. Of course, with me as a marketer, one of the things I really like is that you see the number 30 at the bottom there. That means 30 people at that point, which I can't, this was probably over the weekend I did this. So it had been, Thursday, so it had probably last Friday I did this, because it had been 22 hours. I'd already had 30 people see it. On average, I average between 30 and 50 likes per photo, just my Instagram account. And so that, to me, shows me that immediately within 24 hours, I already had 30 people see that, so I'm already getting more engagement from my live Instagram stories than I am just my Instagram page. So I'm going to definitely take that into consideration when I do my strategy, that I need to be using Instagram stories more. And so hopefully you'll see the same thing there. And that little 3 dot there will allow you to see, that Instagram or insights even more. So what they changed just in the last 48 hours or so is the fact that I call it a secret feature, because I don't think really you would find this. I subscribe to people that, are doing this on a bigger scale and kind of stay on top of things even more than I do. And somebody actually found this on Instagram stories, that somebody found this as one of those people I follow, and I call it a secret feature, because you can actually access your photos from the last 24 hours and use them in your Instagram story. So it's not quite as live as Snapchat is. I think I like this a little bit because I'm able to, especially as I see more engagement, I'm able to use Snapchat stories, just not when I'm able to instantly, but if I go back and try to be strategic about it, I can add some photos. And then as long as I put them out there within 24 hours, they're going to be up in there. So how you actually get that, it's really easy. You click on that same button beside the Instagram at the top, and it will show you the screen, which is what the gray is, of what I would be taking a picture of. And then I just pull down. And if I pull down from the top on my phone, I'm going to see that last 24 hours. So it looks like there's a screenshot, a picture of a sleeping child, another screenshot. And so I'm able to go through there and pull anything like that I want to. And I'm able to manipulate it just like a live photo or video would be. So I can add the verbiage to it. I can do a couple filters, those kinds of things. Not anything too extensive, but I'm still able to use it in my story. And it's still going to show up in my story as something that came just live. So it's not going to backdate it or anything like that. So we're able to be, I feel like, a little bit more strategic than maybe over on Snapchat, where we really have to think ahead of time and do snaps and make sure that you're being strategic and have everything laid out prior to, even putting it out there. So this way we can take some photos and play around a little bit and make our strategy even stronger. So, of course, with me, one of the things I want to definitely go back with that I talked about at first with the reason to have a business page is the Instagram Insights. I definitely am data-driven and see the benefits of this, and this helps me show the benefits to my clients as well. And so there's a couple ways that you can access your insights. One is per post. And so on each post, you would have a little bar that says Insights, and you're able to click on that. So each photo, you can click on that, and it'll come out per post what that is. So I pulled one from August 14th, and it shows the impressions, the reach, and the engagement. And what I thought was really nice is that, unfortunately, those are all, are words that I know, but sometimes they mean different things on different platforms. So it's nice to say, okay, what do these mean in terms of Instagram? And so you're able to click that, what do these mean, and read that. So I'm happy that they have that option. Facebook had it for a while. I'm not sure if they still have that when they change their stuff around, but it's nice to know what those actually mean in terms of Instagram. So when we see impressions, so 209 people actually saw that photo, and this is not the live photos. This is actually just your photos in your Instagram stream. And then the reach is the number of unique accounts that have seen your post. So some people saw it more than once, obviously, because of 209 versus 158. And then engagement. There's 22 engagements, and that's any likes or comments. So on Instagram, a like is a little heart, and any kind of comment that counts as that. And I don't remember when I pulled this. It was probably a week or so. So for me, that shows me something because, what all I was able to see before was if those 22 engagements were likes, then I was able to see that I had 22 likes on a photo, and that was really it. I didn't know how many other people was reaching that. Okay, I have a question from Andrea about not having the plus sign. You might be, I haven't heard that before, but it might be just like how we deal with Facebook. It's kind of a count-by-count basis. I will, though, look at that, and if I see anything else that you might need to do, I think mine just showed up after I converted the business account, and I know others have showed up, just randomly after they made the latest update. So it might just be a case-by-case basis, and they just haven't got to your account yet. But don't be too worried just yet. Give it another week or so, but I will check on that. And if I do see anything, I'll send you a message about that if there's something that maybe you need to do. Just make sure your account is at private. That might be an issue, but that would be the only thing I can think of off the top of my head. So thank you for bringing that up because I didn't realize that was an issue. And sometimes that does happen with Instagram or with social media as there's so many accounts they have to convert over. They just kind of do it. No rhyme or reason who gets what first, but they do. It sometimes takes a while. All right, more about insights. So like I said, per photo is really great, but overall is even better. And this is each week. So I was able to capture last week and see how many impressions I had, versus the week before. And so one thing I thought was really neat when I pulled this was the week before I had never used Instagram stories. And then that week, that 12th to the 19th, I started using Instagram stories. And so maybe no direct connection, but I probably put the same amount of pictures up every week. Maybe they were more, because I had the River Trails and Ales Festival on there. Maybe that helped. But I think that was probably because people are going to be engaged with my story, that they're going to go back and check my page, check me out a little bit more, give people a reason to follow you, to see what you've been up to, even if they do follow you consistently. Once they see your picture up there, it reminds them that you have a page if they're not seeing it because of the algorithm. So hopefully that was it there, but definitely glad to see that. You can also see when your followers are online. You can go into more in-depth, figuring out when you want to post. One thing I didn't really cover on this is scheduling options with Instagram. That always gives me an idea of maybe I need to schedule my Instagram post based on these insights. So these are just some things that we've never had before that are pretty exciting when it comes to Instagram. And one thing that definitely is exciting that we've seen a little bit of, if you're a big Facebook advertiser user, you've seen that you can do some Instagram advertising through your Facebook page, because Facebook bought Instagram, so they've integrated it all together to make everyone's life easier. But we haven't really seen a lot of good insights on the Facebook side of things. If I run a Facebook ad and I say, sure, let's put it on Instagram, the insights aren't really there. They're not separated out. They don't go into big in-depth. And so I think advertising straight from the platform will let us see that a little bit better and give us an opportunity to have a little bit more control of what we advertise. So right now on the Instagram app, you're able to promote per picture. So if you go ahead and put a post out or a photo in Instagram, you're able to promote that. So if you did see the view insights right beside that, and again, this is a business page function only, so if you don't have a business page, you don't see this yet, is the promote. And so once you click on that, you're able to actually use advertising dollars, so it does cost money, to promote that picture to a targeted audience. You actually have a call to action button, which is so exciting because that is something that we've seen proven again and again, that our viewers, our followers want to know what they need to do next. When they see your photo, what makes them do something? And so they have two options right now. And just to remind you, Facebook started out with a couple options too, and now I think there's 10 different ways you can advertise on Facebook. So right now there's two. It's visit your website or call or visit your business. So visit your website, of course, would push them to a web link. It doesn't have to necessarily be your website. It could be a landing page, could be an event registration page, something like that. Or call or visit your site. So they're either going to get prompted with your phone number if they hit call, or they're going to get prompted with directions, which depending on what mobile device they're on, will either hit them to like Google or Apple Maps and get them to your business. So those two are very strong call to actions, are good ones to start out with in any advertising, but I'm really happy to see that Instagram is utilizing those too. So you select a button, visit us, learn more, call me, and then you're able to decide who your audience is. Automatic, it just kind of says who Instagram thinks would like this, or you can create your own. So you see I've created a couple. I've ran a few Instagram ads. So I had a free webinar a couple weeks ago, and I had a distinct audience I wanted for that, so I was able to lay that out. If you've ever done any kind of Facebook advertising, you know that you can target based on gender, based on location, based on age, and that's the same thing through Instagram as well as interest. So you can play around with that, create your own audiences, which, just a marketing side note is knowing who your audience is, especially knowing who your audience is on Instagram, it might be a little different than audiences on Facebook and other social media. So knowing who that audience is important before you start, using advertising dollars on Instagram. And then again, you can do your budget, and I just showed the screenshot here of 5 and 10. You can make it down to $1. You can make it up to probably hundreds of dollars, but it's going to tell you based on which audience you want to reach and how much you spend, how many are you going to estimate reach per day. And so, I think that's per day for this one. I'm trying to remember what I screenshot. So per day there, so you're seeing that you have that potential to reach those many people, and then it will connect to your Facebook account. So the next step would actually pop you kind of out of Instagram and say, do I have rights to access your Facebook account? And then if you do have an ad account set up with Facebook, it's going to pull from that. And so if you don't have one, it's probably going to prompt you to start one. But most likely, if you're ready to go on with Instagram and do advertising, you probably have done some or a little bit or tried out Facebook ads once, because it probably makes you feel a little bit more comfortable over there doing that. So it's fairly as simple as that. What I really like is that you do have access to the insights immediately. It'll tell you there is an approval. They do have rules. They're very similar to Facebook rules. That they're not so much the text rules as I had one that said Facebook on it, and they didn't like that. They're like, we don't want you to use Facebook name on there. You can't use it. So they have just different rules that we're going to have to learn as we go on and as Instagram expands a little bit into its advertising, and I definitely see it probably will as the year goes on, and then 2017 we probably will have enough content to do an entire Instagram advertising training, because it's just going to keep expanding as people use it and see success with it. But this is just a quick version of what you might likely see when you pull up here, and what capabilities you do have when it comes to Instagram advertising. So the next thing is just some quick tips. And these are things that you can use whether you have a business page or a personal page, and however you're going to use them. A couple of the ones that I'm going to start out with, I guess, are the business page focused, just because I think I'm so excited about the business page. But there's a lot to do with your personal page, too. The Contact Us button, so you can set it up so you can have directions, call, or email. And in the description, a big thing that we like to see is keywords. And that's the same thing if people are searching for different products and services. Your business would come up depending on your keywords. If you've Googled your business name lately, you're going to see your Instagram is starting to show up higher and higher. So it might go website, Facebook, Instagram, or another social media somewhere in there, because of the keywords we use in our description. And Instagram is kind of leaning us that way. They've told us, okay, you have the option to pick what kind of sub category, there we go, that you want to be in. And so small business, so I'm going to be pulled that way. And I'm going to be able to see that that's going to end up showing up in Google and other social medias, that is how we're going to attract new clients and new customers that way. So really changing that out, keeping it simple. You can see mine's kind of silly, but it has worked for me. I probably need to change it, as it's been that way for a couple months now, and we know with social media you need to change things out a little bit quicker than that. The website link, I really think that's important to change out, because another tip I'm going to tell you about in the next slide is that you can't put a link in your description of your post. Now, you can put it in there, but it's not clickable. So every time I see one, I kind of cringe, or as I say, I die a little bit inside, because I'm thinking, are people really going to take the time, or can they even copy and paste it? Or are they going to take the time to actually type it in? Probably not, and it's not clickable. And so to me, it's better to say in that is, find my link in my profile. So then they can click your name of your organization and go back to your profile and find that link that they need there. And I change that out based on what post I'm putting out, because I'm always, my call to action is go find my link in my profile and click on there for more information. Typically, that's my call to action, and so I have to change it out. And that's what I really like about Instagram over probably any other social media out there, is I'm able to constantly change that, even though I can't put that in the description to make it clickable. I'm able to tell a person what to do. And a lot of times in marketing, we know that that's even more of an advantage, because our customers want to be told what to do next. And so if we're just putting a link out there and maybe some verbiage, and we're not physically saying click this link to do something, then they're most likely not going to do it. And in Instagram, when we have the description and we're able to say, go to my profile, click this link to register, then that's what they're more likely going to do. One thing I really like one thing I've seen that's a best practice that I really like, is that when organizations use this sentence right here, it says, use my hashtag to be featured on our account. Instagram is all about, showing things and, so much of a visual world that we don't really need as much verbiage. But the big thing about social media is that people want to feel recognized. They want to feel wanted and needed. And a lot of times we see successful accounts using photos that other people have taken, not even as their own, but featuring them. And people love to be featured. And so we get them in the habit of using a hashtag that's branded towards our organization, and then we're able to track that hashtag, but then also we're able to use user-generated content, which is great because it's content we don't have to worry about, we don't have to figure out, but our users have generated it, and they love it because we're tagging them in the photo and getting them a little bit of traction from our fans. So it's kind of a win-win. And so definitely a best practice I've seen be very successful is when people say something like, use our hashtag, and it can be branded to whatever your organization is to be featured on our account. And you don't have to do this every day. Some of my clients just use it once a week. Sometimes they don't use it even that often, but I have other people that use it almost every day to use it as more of a user-generated content, because they're a super user and they're putting out Instagram posts 2 to 3 times a day. And so for them to create that content 2 to 3 times a day, it's definitely more of a task. And so if they can use some user-generated content by using this hashtag, that they definitely can do that. And I'm going to explain hashtags here in a couple slides that will go into more in depth. So I wanted to point it out here. I'm sure maybe you have seen that before, and just to tell you that is a good best practice feature. On the post, some of this I've kind of talked about in the last slide. My super users, they're doing 2 to 3 times a day on Instagram. Insta means instant, so if you're out and about for your business and you're taking photos, putting those out immediately and having those out several times a day, you're definitely going to see more traction and more engagement on this social media platform, because that's what people really like. But I always say, if you're not a super user, you're a newbie, and 2 to 3 times a day just sounds super scary, then 2 to 3 times a week is better than nothing. It gets you started. It gets you engaged. And if you're putting out good stuff, you don't need to do the 2 to 3 times a day. You will have plenty of engagement that way. But people that are definitely, as we see a shift that people are using Instagram over other social medias, or maybe as their primary social media, we're going to see more people doing posts 2 to 3 times a day. They do have great filters. I'm going to show you in the next slide some of the filters features. I would use those. Some people, best practice that I've seen, and some people really like to do this, is that they always use the same filter for every photo. And what's really cool about this is when you go to their main page and see all of their photos, they all have kind of the same look. Even if they were taken by different people, and even if they were taken in different lighting, inside versus outside, they all use that same filter, and so it gives them kind of like a universal look. Some people I even know are super users, have their own distinct filter, and they go in and play around, and they know exactly what number each filter is on and what they do to each photo, and they do the same thing to each photo. And that does make a difference with looking like you are a pro on Instagram. One thing that people always forget on Instagram posts is add location. And some people don't even know that you can actually add location. And in the next slide, I'm going to show you a photo of that, kind of go over this stuff one more time. That you can add a location. And so that's really nice, because when a business first starts, they don't have a location, so it kind of helps if people are adding a location. So then Instagram's going, okay, this is a real spot. I need to start adding it. And so as we're, walking down the street and we take a photo on our personal page and it says add location, it's going to prompt us with some of the businesses that are close by, especially those businesses that are active Instagram users and have an established, kind of point there that that's where they're located. And so that helps too. Plus, if we ever want to go searching for user-generated content and people are using your location, you can actually search location. And so you're able to find people to connect with and find content that way. Another feature of Instagram is that it doesn't have to stay on Instagram. I have a lot of clients that have kind of jumped ship with Twitter, but I tell them still, why don't you just go ahead and you're already on Instagram, you're already posting something, why don't you just go ahead and have it shoot over to Twitter? And it's really funny is when they start doing that, their Twitter feed starts pumping up some. They start getting more followers, those kinds of things. So it does help. It's probably not as good as being right there on Twitter and updating. But if you're going to keep your Twitter account but kind of want to back off from it, that's a good option. Plus, they're connected to a lot of other social media platforms. So the next slide, just for space sake, I put them all on the same slide here. And this is just like I uploaded a photo. So as soon as you upload a photo, the first picture on the left here, you're able to go in and get filters. So you can see there's filters and edit. So filters are predisposed filters that you can use. There's several of them. You can scroll through there, everything from black and white to really, really bright, changing the color of that picture of the flooring. Then if you go over to edit, which is just a click over, you can actually adjust other things. So you can adjust like the tilt, you can brightness, contrast. There's where my super users go in and they have like kind of a numbering system. They know contrast, they want a certain number, brightness, they want a certain number, and then that's their look. And they're able to kind of play around with that. There's a couple other features in the edit that you can play around with. And I think prior to this, you have to kind of make your picture bigger or smaller. But in this part of things, you really look at what the picture looks like to the end user. So if you're good with what it looks like, if you hit next, it's our next slide over there, or our next photo on the slide. So you're able to add a caption. The caption definitely, you need to have something there. I've seen businesses do photos with no caption, and they have very low engagement. You can write a novel if you want to on Instagram. I think I actually got cut off on Instagram because I was copying and pasting something and then I was editing it. And I thought, what happened to the rest of that? So there is a max, but it was a lot. It was like a novel. But, you can, copy and paste the content you have on other social media and maybe just change it around. I tend to be a little bit more informal on Instagram than I am on Facebook and, of course, on LinkedIn. So you can kind of decide what your tone is, and we're going to talk about that when we get to strategy, what your tone is for Instagram and how that tone should really be on every single photo. So you can tag people. I have a big influx of being tagged in a lot of things that aren't relevant to me. I don't mind if anybody in this training wants to tag me on their next photo, I love that. I'd love to see that this is working for you. But just be careful of who you tag. Hopefully a couple of those that weren't really of interest to me, people I didn't know or didn't really mean to tag me. Maybe it was a slip of the finger. But you can tag people, which if you're partnering, which I always recommend with partnering with businesses and partnering with organizations, you can tag each other in it from here. It kind of shows up on the picture. They actually get a notification that they're tagged, and so a lot of times maybe they'll reshare it for you, or they'll kind of return the favor and post a picture that maybe they took of that same event you were at, tag you in it. Here's where location is. So you can see a couple businesses around me when I was putting this together pop up because people have tagged themselves in those businesses already, but I'm able to type in a location and actually even add a new location if there isn't one. And sometimes as new businesses come in, they don't have one for a while until people start doing that. So you can see that they actually, because of the business account, you used to just be able to share Instagram to your personal account because it was a personal page. Now it's telling me you can click over here and you can share this photo on your business Facebook page. So you can see that's where it says WV Social Media. Of course, Twitter, most of the time, if you put in your Twitter username and password one time, it'll save it. If not, it'll just prompt you for it, as well as the other ones. I have one organization that I follow that uses Tumblr. They use Tumblr as like their website, so everything they kind of post to Instagram and it goes to Tumblr, and then it's like generating the content for their website. And so it's really been beneficial to them. They have a huge following, and they have an interesting brand. So that's worked for them. So there's a lot of options there to, reuse your content directly from Instagram, which is nice and takes a couple minutes off the time of actually logging in, and maybe if you're going to use the same picture. Don't always recommend doing this all the time, but it's definitely good if it's something you set on Facebook, oh, I'm going to be on Instagram putting out photos. You may want to share one or two on Facebook that way too, and maybe say, hey, come over, or comment, like, come over to Instagram to see the rest of them. I mentioned with Twitter, seeing the decline of Twitter and a lot of people pulling away from Twitter, this is a good way to still have a presence but not maybe spend as much time and effort on that platform. So what I would say, the elephant in the room, hashtags. People always have questions about hashtags. It's very confusing to some people what actually hashtags are. It used to be called the pound sign. Now we say everything is a hashtag. So it has changed over time. And so when it comes to hashtags and Instagram, I definitely think they're the platform that came about to say, hey, you don't just have to use one or two that'll fit on Twitter. We can use hundreds if we want to of hashtags, and really made us think why we want to use a hashtag. Hashtags, what they do is they're created by anybody. They're not owned by anybody. Anybody can use them. So we want to make sure if you're using one branded for your organization that you're searching hashtags and making sure nobody else is using it that may be inappropriate. I mean, most of the time there's going to be, if it's something kind of popular, there's going to be other people using it. But just to make sure, especially if it's something branded, it's not anything that's inappropriate that you wouldn't want to be connected to your business. Another reason we use hashtags, not only to brand ourselves, but to also figure out or kind of group people together, is what I say. So if we're looking for everybody in a geographic hashtag, so we're looking for everybody hanging out in, we'll say St. Petersburg, Florida, then we can use that hashtag, or we can search that hashtag, and we can see everybody that's ever posted a photo from there that's used that hashtag. This is really good for businesses in St. Petersburg because then they can look at that and start engaging with people and connecting with people. And a lot of times when people are first getting onto Instagram, and I'm not sure anyone in the room who's a super user or who's maybe not even on Instagram yet, this is a good practice of searching your geographic location to see who else is on. It's a good way to engage with people that may like your products and services or may be similar to you just because of geographic location. Another hashtag we see a lot is trending hashtags, and that's what you're probably seeing, and kind of on the right-hand side there you're seeing that people use a lot. Some of them are silly, but some of them actually have, a following behind them, like photo of the day. And the reason they use that is because they want to be featured, and some businesses come around and they feature that photo of the day, and so big businesses, so they want to be featured, so they use that hashtag. So anything that's trending like that, anytime there's a national disaster or anything going on, we see those hashtags, and we know those hashtags because we've seen them on other platforms as well. Back to kind of that branding industry hashtag, not only can you do a hashtag for your brand, so your business organization, anything like that, but there's also industry-specific hashtags. So, like ones that would be popular, I'm trying to think, somebody in the room, maybe tourism-wise, like West Virginia tourism. You might use that in addition to Visit PKB, because those two are, one would be branded and one would be your industry hashtag. You can also use hashtags like coffee and very general like that, general things like that. Not that is going to guarantee you get a massive amount of new followers or likes, but it seems to me like when you do use those kind of hashtags, you do get a little bit more following, even if it's on just that photo that you have. And, sometimes the key is just to get a little bit of engagement there. That kind of translate into, okay, this is a interesting brand to follow, or you may get featured on the main page of Instagram, which could lead to selling a product or service. So those kinds of things are kind of neat when it comes to hashtags. A lot of people say, how many hashtags should I have? And it's been all over the board the last few years. I used to say at least 3, meaning that top 3. You want to have at least one geographic location, at least one trending hashtag, at least one branding industry hashtag. Now, especially where I live, I think there's 4 or 5 geographic hashtags just for my location. and which is kind of weird because of different city names, what it's called, those kinds of things. And you almost have to use all of them in order to reach those people. So I've heard 13, I've heard 30, and that changes constantly. And so I think, too, it's one of those things where it just depends on how much effort, just like with social media, how much effort you want to put into something. But one particular website I found that I think is kind of neat, and if you're a rookie to hashtags, might be a good way to start hashtagging, tagsforlikes.com. So if you're looking to increase your likes or increase your follower base, especially if you're a national, if you're you can nationally go anywhere with your products or services, this is a good place to go. And this one was pulled this weekend, and these are the ones that they said are the most popular right now. So I was able to just copy and paste those. Sometimes I do that kind of thing, industry specific, and I keep those hashtags in a note or in the notes section of my phone, because that is something, in case anyone's wondering this question, that you have to add into every single photo. And so if you're thinking, oh my gosh, do I really have to type in all of that on every photo? Well, a little tip and trick is that you can write them one time or copy and paste them into your notes section of your phone. And the reason we usually do it on our phone is because we're uploading our photos from our mobile devices. And then you can just copy and paste them onto the photo. And so I know that people do this because there's no way they're sitting down and writing all those hashtags. And those are the kinds of things that do kind of sell a picture and get you some being noticed on Instagram. Not a necessity to have all those hashtags. Depending on how small you want to start to, you may not want to have all those hashtags, especially if you're launching a new product and your product, you don't have very many of them. You don't want to be overwhelmed and have the other side of that thing where you don't have enough products to sell to the people that are wanting it. So play around with hashtags. Know that there's no real, I don't think there's any hard and fast rule. There's a lot of people, I always get this question, people use silly hashtags. People are going to use silly hashtags. Do they really mean much? Probably not. If that saying tends to take off, then marketers might use that in order to follow people. But definitely sticking to those three, that top three on there when you're thinking about doing hashtags will get you leading in the right direction. So some graphic programs for Instagram, and this is the one thing that I get a lot of questions on, especially in face-to-face trainings, is, but how do you put the verbiage over the photo? Instagram doesn't have a feature for that, in their app. So how do you do it? And so there's a lot of great graphic programs out there, and luckily for me, you don't have to be a graphic designer to do those, and they're free or fairly inexpensive. I think the ones that I've put out are mostly free. I think they all have a paid version, depending on how much you're going to use them. You may want to do the paid version, but a lot of them are fairly inexpensive. Probably, and I didn't really do this on purpose, but probably my favorite right now is Adobe Spark Post, and they're actually in beta and another kind of version of this that I've been playing around with, and so it's only going to get better, and I can contest to that because I've been playing around in it. And what you do in these graphic programs is you upload your photo in that program first, and then you're able to add your branding. And that's what this is really about, is one of the first things you want to make sure if you're using one of these graphic programs is that you're putting branding on it, so people know where that photo came from. So whether it's your website, whether it's your logo, whether it's just the name of your organization, you want to make sure all your photos are branded. And a lot of times we don't do that. A lot of times it's one of those fast things we put up. If you're using professional photos, something that you want to make sure nobody else is copying, then I would definitely brand it. The picture, I think if you look at my Instagram story, the picture of me and my flip-flops, I don't think that was necessary to brand, but I probably should be branding more than I am, and we all should be because of that. Not even a copyright issue. It's just that you want to make sure that nobody else is using your photo, and a way to do that is to put some sort of branding on it, at least without your permission. You don't want them to use your photo. They might ask you to reshare it, and that might be fine, and it might be even better because it has your branding on it. But that's probably the first reason that graphic programs like this came about. The second reason is the one I just said about being able to add verbiage. So you're able to put words over a photo, and so you're able to tell that story by just somebody looking at the photo. And we're such a visual world that we're seeing that photos like that are getting gain more engagement and are more attractive than just our regular photos. And so programs like Adobe Post, Canva, which does, both of those do have a PC version as well as a mobile app. So canva.com, you can visit and check that out. Ripple is one that goes into our video. So if you've been following Instagram for a while, it used to be like a 15-second video, and now they've put it to a 60-second video. So you're able to actually create videos that have a story behind them that can get your audience engaged and not be so limited at 15 seconds anymore. And so if you're having issues making a video, or you want to put some slides together, maybe some photo slides together to show your story in a video, Ripple is a good one. And Adobe Spark Video, which is the same company as Adobe Spark Post, but two different apps if you're playing around with it that way, are both good programs out there to create videos. And they, like I said, you can do almost everything for free, which is nice, and it's going to take you a little bit of time to get used to the program to do it. But once it's done, too, on all of these programs, especially if you're using the mobile app, it's a one-click to share with Instagram, which in our busy world, that's really great news because we're able to share that from that one app and not have to log in and out or save the photo and then go back out. So you're able to do that. Of course, you have to be logged into the Instagram on your phone, but most of us probably would be if we're using that version there. So one of the last things I want to talk about is strategy. And with Instagram being so new, it is important to really think about your strategy because it's great just to throw out photos, and that's what I feel like I've been doing for the last few years, is just throwing out photos as I kind of try to figure out what Instagram is going to help me with my business and how Instagram is going to help me see a return on investment. And now as Instagram is saying, we want to be here for businesses, we want to create a space for them. We're ready to start working with businesses, and that's how I feel like they're telling us by having a business page, by letting us do promotions. I can be more serious about my strategy. And one of the biggest things with strategy in general is understanding your audience and realizing that not the same audience that's on Facebook is probably going to be your audience on Instagram. It's probably not going to be the same audience on Snapchat or the same audience over on LinkedIn. So really understanding who your audience is going to be and how you're going to speak to them. But one of the things you can do is really look at your audience as a way of insights. When you first do that conversion, you can look at your audience and insights and see who those people are in the majority. Sometimes and I shared it on the event page, but I realized I didn't share it on the presentation here. I was able to see that like 75% of the people that follow me were female. And to know that makes me, maybe turn my marketing in a different way and start strategizing a little differently. And so really understanding who your ideal audience is and who you want to communicate with there is important too. I always tell people when I first start working with them, close your eyes and tell me who the most ideal customer is for you. Who do you want to be working with? Who is, the best fit for your business? And if you can write down those demographics, so you can tell me what age range, what gender, what they're interested in, what they do for fun. I mean, we go through exercises where I'm even like, name this person and tell me what their day looks like, so that you can really get a grasp of who your audience is. And then once you understand who your audience is, who that audience is really on Instagram. So out of that ideal customer, who am I really talking to on Instagram? And once you understand that, you're going to be able to know exactly what you need to post, and keeping that in mind every time you do a post or every time you start saying, okay, how can Instagram fit into my marketing strategy? Be strategic about your message. Really, each platform needs to have a goal. So thinking, what is your goal with Instagram? Is your goal to be behind the scenes? Is your goal to show, a day in the life of our executive director? Is your goal to sell? Because people are selling products on Instagram and being very successful. So knowing what your goal is will help you be more strategic about your message. And then you can kind of go back to that thinking of social media, where hopefully we've all heard this before. If you're using social media at all, you need to be about 80-20. So, you have to have some fun in there. We're probably talking about our business. We're showcasing our business. We're really excited about that. But what kind of personal behind the scenes, how do I make my brand personalized on social media? And that 80-20 rule would work for Instagram. And I mentioned this before about your tone. So like I mentioned, I'm a little bit more informal. I feel like when I'm on Instagram, I'm chatting with a friend. That's kind of the thing. And what I've done is I've looked at who follows me. And those aren't really my big marketers. Those aren't my, CEOs aren't following me. It's really my peers, people that are just like me, maybe in a position like me, doing something similar to business or organization. And so I'm a little bit more informal. So you kind of have to decide what your tone is going to be and make sure it fits to your message, make sure it fits to your goal, and really fits your audience. Because if you are talking to CEOs, you probably don't want to be too informal. You'll probably get unfollowed. If they're there to really, maybe they're there to look at new products and services. And with every social media, a good story or any marketing, a good story is always good for a platform. And Instagram, especially with our Instagram stories being launched, we really can tell a story. And if you start really playing around with those Instagram stories, you can watch and see what others are doing. Sometimes people post like 6 or 8 photos in a row, and I kind of get tired of looking at it. But sometimes they're really engaging, like the one that I found out my little secret tip from. She had like 5 or 6 in a row, and they were videos, and I just kept watching it, and I rewatched them. And so if you tell a really good story, people are going to constantly watch you and go back to you. And you can use that via Instagram stories, or you can use it on your regular Instagram page telling a story. Kind of back to being strategic, it's making your audience know why they're going to visit Instagram over visiting you on some other social media. Because a lot of times in Instagram, we see it a lot. People are also following us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter that are also following us on Instagram. So why make them log into Instagram and really follow you and maybe even have to go back to your site to see what you're doing or click your story? What's making them do that? So that can be a part of that story too. It's like, this is where I'm going to find the behind the scenes. So I want to definitely go here because I like that part of that brand, depending on what your message is going to be. The big thing about strategy, and I cannot do any strategy session without mentioning a content calendar, and I probably talk about this until I'm blue in the face. And if you've heard me talk before, you know the importance of this. If you've never heard of a content calendar before, I encourage you to Google it. This could be as simple as writing down the content you want to use in the next 30 days on a piece of notebook paper, or it could be as complex as having an online sharing system of like an Excel file or a Google spreadsheet that's all laid out with a calendar with different themes that several different people access and add to and take from to use on different platforms. But what it really comes down to is a way to keep you strategic and keep you on task and keeping your content consistent and knowing what's next. Because the worst thing that happens is we sit down and we stop using a platform because we just don't know what to post. And by having a content calendar, and you don't even have to have a separate one for Instagram. You just have to make a little note that, yes, on Instagram I'm going to do this, and it's going to be consistent with my other social medias because I'm doing this and this on there. So it's not any extra work if you're already using a content calendar to add Instagram. And if you're not using a content calendar, I would recommend starting with Instagram, then adding your other social medias to it, because it's really a way to keep your message consistent overall platform. And what we now know in marketing, it's not even 10 or 15 years ago when I was going through marketing courses where they were saying, oh, you're going to need to touch somebody 3 times, 7 times, 14 times. Now they're saying now it's up to 30 different times you have to touch somebody, or your brand has to be visible to them in order for them to make a purchasing decision. And that's crazy to think to me, is how can I actually touch somebody 30 times before they make a purchasing decision? But I've seen it. I have people that have followed me for years, and I've never heard anything about them. And then all of a sudden, they'll say to me, well, I've been watching you do this, or I know I need to do this, and I need to be in this spot in order to do it. And then they move on there. So that consistent content always weighs out no matter what industry you're in. So that content calendar should help you. So I couldn't say strategy without a content calendar. So that being said, just a little recap of today, because there's a lot of information, a lot of new stuff that you may have never heard of before. If you're a business or organization, I definitely encourage you to convert. Don't be worried about converting. You're not going to lose anything. If you do, please tell me, because I need to know, because I've not lost anything yet. So if there is an issue, please let me know, but I haven't heard of one yet, so that's encouraging to me. I've been able to convert several business pages without any issues whatsoever. Check those call to actions. I encourage you to go into your description, whether you have a personal page or a business page, or if it's your business on a personal page, and see what your call to action is. Is it just your website? How are you pushing people there? Is it, an event site? Whatever it is, and check those and change those. So make sure it's something not outdated. And I am just like a normal person, and I think, oh my gosh, how long has that been up there that I meant to change it? So making notes, putting that part of your content calendar, your strategy, change this out, will help you to see a better return on investment. I'm going to go to a question here, and then I'll finish with my recap. Is there an easy way to search local businesses on Instagram? I don't know if it's easy, but the search box is pretty good. If I had to rank it, it's not Google. It's not going to be as good as Google. It's definitely going to bring up any businesses that you're already connected to, but if you keep scrolling and you're looking for businesses, maybe a particular name, one thing I always encourage is using your city name, because a lot of, that's a good place to start, that you can start connecting with people, or even searching a name of another local business will maybe show up some others that you want to connect to. But the search isn't as bad as Facebook, where on Facebook, I think it's gotten a little bit better, but it used to be really terrible that you would search something and you couldn't find it. It was so hard to search something. Hopefully, if a business is on Instagram, that they're putting their putting that logo on their website. So sometimes if I can't find somebody on social media, I Google them. If it doesn't come up in the Google listing, I go to their website, and then I click from there. So I don't know how simple it is, but there is a way to search local businesses on Instagram. So hopefully that answered your question there. Using a story, telling a story, I can't definitely stress that enough. That helps keep people engaged and keep people coming back for more. Definitely on Instagram, we see the behind the scenes is what we're seeing a lot of the big brands, a lot of the people being successful doing, is showing that behind the scenes of a person, where they're more formal on LinkedIn, they're more, I'd say, informational on Facebook, let's hope, and then there's just maybe like a little bit more fun and formal behind the scenes on Instagram. But you don't have to do it that way. That's just what I've seen, that has been successful. But there's others, selling products on Instagram is possible. There's people that are using it as their main social media. So don't, feel like you have to fit in any norm. You need to find out what fits best for you. Have a hashtag plan. So your plan may just, it may be very multi-level. You may be putting the hashtags on your content calendar, what you want to use, or you may be like what I suggested, putting some hashtags in the notes section and making sure those hashtags are on every photo. You may delete some of those hashtags. You may add some extra hashtags in depending on the photo, but having some sort of plan. I hate to see a photo put out there without any hashtags, because you're losing a lot of engagement doing that. You're only attracting people that you're showing up in their news feed. By using hashtags, we're attracting people that have decided, I love this hashtag, or this is the hashtag I follow. I'm going to click on this and see who else does it. And so it helps with that engagement. Also helps Instagram say, who should I show this to? And so if people are using that similar hashtag, then they're going to be shown to them as well. Use a graphics program. I think, too, it shows kind of a level of professionalism when you use graphics. If you have your photos branded, if you have, some verbiage over a photo, it just shows that you're just not posting photos on there. It's definitely something you don't have to use all the time. I try to make a nice variety. I sometimes end up getting on a tangent where every single photo has is put in a graphics program, and then I'll go a week, none of the photos will be put in a graphics program. So finding a nice balance is probably the best, but we definitely, depending on what's going on in your world and how you're using this, you may see that you use it all the time, and then, again, you may see you don't ever use the graphics program. But having a plan, and that plan, that content calendar, I think it should involve both paid, so that promoted posts, but also organic content. And so kind of playing around with that and deciding, which post that you really want to give a little boost to is good for the paid. It could be event-driven. It could be, product launch-driven. It doesn't have to be every photo you put out there, but really having a plan of what needs a little extra promotion and what we want to just go organic. And also, just like, if you've ever taken a Facebook advertising or looked at Facebook advertising and something goes really well organically, it may be a good time to put a couple of dollars behind it. The same thing goes with Instagram, is that if it's already really great content, if we boost it, it's going to go even farther outside of our inner circle, and we're able to reach more because it's just a fun, engaging content. So with that being said, I'll open it to any questions. I have everyone on mute, which I usually say at the beginning, but I forgot to. So if you want to use the chat function, and I'll repeat the question to the group and then answer that question if you have any at this time. Well, keep typing if you are. I can't see if anyone's typing or not. I wish that was one function of this. I've got a question. All right. How would you delete a person from your list? Okay, I'm going to have to. You've almost stopped me, Doug. I got to look at this real fast. I can't remember the last time I deleted somebody, which is a good thing, but I probably should be deleting people. Let me see if I can pull mine up while I'm on here and look. So probably the best thing, you go under your followers or following and click on somebody there. So they're gonna show up either following or followers, probably followers if you want to delete them. And then there's a green button that says following, and I think if you click it, then you can say if you change your mind, you would have to request this person again, or you can click unfollow. So that is how you do it. So you want to make sure if you're following them, that just means you wouldn't see it anymore. So you're going to have to click them. Okay, and probably what you need to do is you may need to ban them in order for them not to see your stuff. So if you just don't want to see their stuff, you go to followers and click unfollow. But if they're, spamming your page, you can actually go to ban, which I believe I'm looking here under followers, see if I can have the option. Actually, you would click on their name, and it would come up, and then there's a 3 dot in the right-hand corner, and then you would have to block the user. So depending on how you want to delete them, if you want to delete them just you seeing their stuff or them seeing your stuff. But probably ban if you don't want them to see your stuff. So let me know if that answered your question. Had to look at it there to get it answered. All right, great. So if there's no other questions, or if you're typing, please keep typing. I'll see it. I'm going to hang out here for a few more minutes. Thank you for attending. I'm going to, I was sending this recording to you. It takes a little while to download, depending on how long it is, and I'll send it to you probably in the next 24 hours. So please be looking for that, and please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Follow me on, she didn't do a very good job of putting that up front. I think I'm on the front here. Follow me on Instagram. Feel free to tag me in anything you put out if you have any questions or want to see that. But you can follow me at WB Social Media. And have a great day.